here it is, the second Thursday of the month already. So Scott Maddasion in studio with us, the mayor of Clinton. How's it going, Scott?
I'm good. How are you?
Real good, thank you. Let's get started right away with your talking points. Appreciate that, of course. The Lafayette project.
Yeah, so a lot of folks probably saw that last year Bush Construction purchased the Lafayette, and they're going to turn it into workforce housing, basically. And I can't remember the exact how many units are now because we've adjusted a little bit and they added 5 or 6 units on the ground floor. So it's going to be quite a bit, but that project is moving forward. They applied for their tax credits. You know, the developers always go for those tax credit programs and incentive programs and things. They applied for that stuff yesterday. Yesterday was the 10th. Yep. So they applied for that, and they should know a couple months whether or not they get those credits or not. There's a couple opportunities for them to get that, but either way, they're gonna start moving on the project. They've been buying up a little bit of ground that's around the area too, because they're gonna need more parking, obviously, with that many units and things. So they're moving forward. So hopefully you start to see some construction happening on that project sooner than later. But there's not like a start date that's been slated yet. So
you would imagine that there's probably going to be a lot of work that needs to be done because it's been vacant for a while, has it not?
It has been. I was in there, I can't remember how long ago it was. It was after it got closed up and everything, and I was in there, and it's pretty rough in some places, but I think just like the Wilson building, they're constructed of the same type of material, and I don't remember how close in construction they were as far as the years go, but I envision it kind of cleaning up just like the Wilson building did, and it took a lot of time to do that one as well, and I think this will take some time. But Bush is very good, and they were the ones that worked on the Wilson building, so I think you'll see that. The other thing too is it was a hotel, and the rooms are kind of small in some places, so they're going to have to get a floor plan and expand some things and do that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of work that's going to go into it. And then with the historical side of it, they have to keep a lot of those elements. So I think that's a challenge in itself, probably getting some materials and doing that. So it's not going to be a quick project, but it will be a very good one for us.
And you said the housing, did you say workforce housing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Explain that to us.
There's a lot of different words out there that people use, and they use low income, they use this, they use that. But basically what this is income-based housing, right? And it's they're called workforce housing tax credits. It does qualify in the low income side of things, but the qualification to get in, like tier 1, is like someone or a family who makes $48,000 a year, right? We have several city employees that are at that level, entry-level folks. There's a ton of entry-level folks that are all over the place that are in that range. So this is not like, it's not like I don't know how to say it without sounding brash, but it's not like a free ride place. You know what I mean? This is folks that have jobs. They're working in the community or somewhere near here, and they're making money and they're doing that. And then there's tiers that go up, and once you get to a certain tier, obviously you probably can't get in there. But yeah, so it's folks that are out there, doing all the different things that we do, changing your oil or working at any place. You know what I'm saying?
It's interesting how much housing is going on, especially out at the west end of town.
Yeah, there is a lot, and everything's filling up. And I know people are looking for places, and we're trying to continue to grow. And when you have projects that are coming in at the rail park, Atlas Roofing and the other stuff that's going on out there, that's just going to bring more folks to the area. And it's exciting. We do need single family homes too. Just the rental units and the things like that, they're great, but I would love to see a housing development pop up where 30, 40, 50 houses get built in a year, which would be really nice.
And visiting with Scott Maddasion, mayor of Clinton. Now, C2 zoning.
Yeah, so we just I always put on stuff on here that what happened at the last council meeting, just in case people didn't catch it. And we've done some work on the C2 zoning stuff as far as along 2nd Street, and then a little bit for the Wilson building. But basically, we have a lot of houses that are on 2nd Street. We talked about this last time that were businesses, and then they want to sell them as a house, and it's kind of bouncing back and forth. And basically what we did was we went through and we made it, and it passed to I have one more reading, but it should pass. It was unanimous so far to allow those houses to continue to be houses if they were businesses, as long as they weren't substantially altered. If you went in there and you gutted the entire thing and you made it into a doctor's office with like a typical doctor's office, okay, that's significantly altered, right? But if you went in and you didn't really do a whole lot and you want to sell it as a house, you now have that opportunity, because I'd rather see folks living there than it rot and be tearing it down,
How often do you have to address a zoning issue?
Seems like more than a lot lately. Generally, we don't. We have a comprehensive plan, we have our zoning set, and usually it's set pretty good. But also, I think the council now is pretty flexible, not to bend the rules for everything, but when they see a flaw in our zoning code, they're not afraid to discuss it and look at changes and see if we need to do something differently, because I think that's what's important. Zoning is really kind of a living and breathing thing, right? It can change, because just on the C2 zoning on 2nd Street, 20 years ago, maybe they thought that these businesses were all going to come in and they're going to buy this ground, they're going to tear these houses down, they're going to build your Chick-fil-A's and your McDonald's and all this stuff. And some of that did happen, right? But it didn't fill the entire 2nd Street. And now we have a zoning code that's very restrictive because we thought that would happen, and it just hasn't. Similar to along Comanche Avenue, our overlay is very restrictive on what our forefathers wanted there. Well, none of that ever happened, right? So we're reworking that too to try to attract businesses in those areas, because I don't want to leave bare ground there. If we can get some businesses in there, we want to make sure and do it. And I'm a big fan of not being super restrictive on certain things. I'd rather welcome businesses in and find a way to get to yes.
We got a new fire chief.
Yeah, so the council unanimously approved the appointment of Mike McQuistion as the next fire chief in Clinton. So he's a 25-year veteran of the Clinton Fire Department, and he's a battalion chief currently. So he's done a lot. He's very qualified. He's very good, and I think he's going to do a nice job as the next fire chief. And he'll be taking over. I can't remember if it's the end of May or June 1, or I know the swearing in's around May 28th. So, and I can't remember if that's the exact day or not. But yeah, so he's excited and starting to get working on that and get spun up, because he's got a lot of work ahead of him and a lot of things to do and decisions to make as he gets going. So
it's interesting when they had the article that he was taking over. There really haven't been that many fire chiefs in Clinton.
No, I was really surprised.
Yeah. So was I.
I asked Chief Atkinson about that, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, but there was a gentleman that was a fire chief for almost like 30 years at one point. I mean, that takes up quite a bit of time,
Yeah.
But it was kind of funny because, I joked. I'm like, I'm the 65th mayor the city's ever had, and we've had like 12 fire chiefs.
So you're the 65th mayor?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Okay,
yeah,
very good.
But some of them, I guess, are 2-year terms. If you did one term, I got out. But either way, it was just kind of funny because we were joking about that one day. And
yeah. Before we take a break for the weather, settlement on the supportive housing. Talk about that.
Yeah, the council voted on a settlement agreement for the supportive housing thing. Obviously, there was a lawsuit on it, and they agreed to settle the lawsuit. It's officially, I guess, not a done deal yet because all parties have not signed the document. So we'll see if that actually happens. I actually chose not to sign it until everybody else signs it because I just don't know if there's going to be any funny business going on, and I'd prefer not to have our name signed on the document until everybody's agreed and it's done. So,
was there a lot of back and forth in this particular thing?
So the attorneys did a lot of back and forth. The council kind of gave direction on what they would be willing to do, and the original offer from the plaintiffs, most of it was like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. Some of it got put in there, some of it did not, some of it changed, but it's within the parameters of what the council was comfortable doing, I guess. The YWCA was involved in that as well because obviously they have they're a party in this whole thing just because it's their project and their grant. So it was kind of an interesting process, but mostly the attorneys do the negotiating. The council just kind of gives them an idea of like this, and then if anything's outside of those parameters, they come back and say, hey, this is what we have, and in this instance, we didn't have to do that. So.
All right, very good. Again, visiting with Scott Maddasion. A break for the weather brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hold on to your hats again today. The wind will be increasing out of the north at 15 to 25 miles an hour. There will also be a lot of cloud cover and some scattered showers occasionally. We're still going to see mid-60s for highs. A stray shower or two early this evening, otherwise windy. We'll see overnight lows in the mid-40s. With your Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Strutsky.
Kind of overcast out there, 56 degrees, north wind starting to pick up a little bit. Our update brought to you by Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Everyone knows the climate changes quickly in the Midwest. Make your home comfortable all year round with Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Right now, Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning offers up to $380 in rebates, plus additional incentives on a whole home comfort system from Bryant, whatever it takes.
No matter what the temperature is like outdoors, at least your home will always be comfortable when you trust Kelly.
Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning in Clinton, your Bryant factory authorized dealer.
Continuing now on FYI with the Mayor, Scott Maddasion, of course, the second Thursday. Hiring a HR director?
Yeah, so I wanted to put this on there just because some folks probably saw the posting out there, maybe saw social media. The city has not had an HR director in quite some time, and the council has decided that with the amount of employees that we have and union negotiations, health insurance, all this kind of stuff, that it's time to bring that position back. And we do, within the budget, have the funds to do something like that. So we put the posting out there to hire the HR director, and we're going to see kind of what we get. So mainly wanted to say, if anybody's out there listening and they're a qualified candidate, that we are looking for somebody to come in. And so get on the website, fill out your application, and I think it'll be a good idea for the city to have that position filled.
Do many cities our size have an HR director, Scott?
I think it's mixed a little bit. I haven't really talked to maybe cities that are exactly our size, but I did speak with the mayors in Bettendorf and the mayors in Dubuque a little bit about their process, how they do it. I mean, obviously they're larger than us in population-wise, especially Dubuque, but I think it just kind of depends. But right now, our finance director kind of wears two hats as HR director and finance, and we have a lot of finance stuff going on too, and I think it'll be nice to separate those duties a little bit. Also, when it comes to policy manuals and things like that, we'll have a dedicated person that can make sure and stay updated on that and be an expert on some of those things that maybe it'd be hard to be an expert on if you're doing two jobs.
So when you get the applications in, I would imagine there'll be like an interview process.
Yeah, so we'll take the applications in. Obviously, we'll wrangle up the ones that are really qualified, and then we'll, depending on how many we get, I don't know how many we're going to get. We'll figure out, working with Matt, the city administrator, how we're going to interview, who we're going to interview, what objective criteria we're going to use to select applicants to interview. Because if we have 30 qualified applicants, that's a lot that's like a week full of interviews or more, right? So we're gonna have to find some way to objectively choose who we're gonna choose to interview, and then we'll probably have a panel just like we did with the fire chief and things like that. We'll involve some council members, some department heads, different things like that, so that we're getting some different perspectives when we go through those interviews.
Yeah, obviously there is a process that needs to be done. So
yeah.
Well, if anybody's been in the north end of town, they know that there's been some construction going on Main Avenue, as well as 19th Avenue North and 2nd Street.
Yeah, so we have a lot of construction projects going on up there right now. Obviously, if you've been up there, So right now, east of 2nd Street on Main Avenue, we have that all torn up. That's going to get redone all the way to the tracks there. The next block up between 2nd Street and 3rd Street is going to get redone as well. That would be the next phase of that project. So expect some delays and some reconfiguration as far as traffic flows and things like that as that gets going. That'll be a big project, but it's definitely needed. It's time to get that redone. And then if you've been at that intersection by the bridge there, the North Bridge, you can see that we're doing a full reconstruction of that. It's going to be new signaling. I'll say new traffic pattern because I'm not an engineer and I don't know the real word that they're using for it, but kind of a new traffic pattern as far as how the lanes are going and, your turn lanes and your only go straight, only turn right kind of thing. So that's going to get all reconfigured. The entrance to Walgreens on that 19th is going to go away. So you'll have to enter from 2nd Street or behind on, is it Garfield or Roosevelt? Roosevelt, yep. So you have to enter from the back on that side too, because that entrance causes a little bit of congestion when people are trying to turn left to get in there and people are trying to go on the bridge, especially during the rush hour time when folks are getting off work. So that'll be reconstructed, and I think it'd be good to have that done as well. So
I know Jason Kraft, of course, is our city engineer. Talk about the process of determining where you're going to be doing these construction projects.
Yeah, these projects were kicked off a little bit by the Iowa DOT because that 2nd Street is a state highway, right? Mm-hmm. And Main Avenue is too because that comes off the highway there. So those were kind of led by them a little bit, but then also the need for the reconstruction on the intersection itself, that was through Jason, and he identified some, that it needed done, and we applied for some state grants for, I can't remember the exact name of this one that we applied for this, but it's a state grant that helps you reconfigure for safety and signaling and things like that. So we got some help on that project by applying for a grant, and then they just happened to kind of coincide each other that the Main Avenue and this was all getting done at the same time. So it could be a mix of different things on how it comes about, but Jason has everything ranked in priority order as far as roads and all that stuff. So if you look at the lighthouse, you can kind of see our 10-year plan of what we're doing for our pavement management program.
How often do you get together with Jason?
It kind of depends. Usually every week or so, I'm having a conversation with Jason about something. Citizen like the signaling out on Highway 30. We changed it for when they were doing construction, and then it didn't get changed back right away. So we had some conversations about that, and I think it just kind of depends on when things come up. But Jason usually has something on the council meeting as well. So at least at the council meeting, we're usually hearing from Jason just because, or one of the other engineers, because they've got a lot of projects. So
I also see you've got Springdale Drive here on your talking points.
Yeah, that was approved at the council meeting the other night. I thought it was important to note this project. It's $1.6 million project. So from 13th Avenue North to 19th Avenue North, Springdale is going to get completely reconstructed, and it will be concrete. We're not going to do asphalt, which I think is important because that's a busy road and it's kind of rough right now. So that'll get let out for bids. It's probably... It could happen in the fall. Most likely, it's probably going to be next spring. There's a lot of residents that live there. There's a lot of people that use that road. So I think it's important to get ahead of the game a little bit and make sure people know that that's coming because that's going to cause you're going to have to find an alternative route when they're going through there because if they rip it out and they're going down to the base and redoing that, there's not going to be one lane to use, right? It's going to be it's going to be all done. So
I use that road quite a bit myself.
I'm sure you do, being where you're at here.
Yeah, and it definitely does need some work. I mean, you're going up and down.
Yeah. So obviously, it needs done if you ride it, but the ground up there is a little interesting. There's a lot of clay and wetness in that area, as far as the ground goes. So I think one reason they're doing this too is to get a really good base on there. And I think before they overlaid it last time, maybe we should have looked at a project like this, just because it didn't last too long after that asphalt overlay. So yeah, I think we're doing okay though, and it'll be a good project to have. It's progress, and sometimes it's inconvenient, but
yeah. While we're talking construction, what is on the timetable? What are some of the things that may be coming up that people might be interested in?
I don't think we have any. I mean, we're going to have a lot of different roads that are done, and I don't have the list with me which roads are going to be done this year. Those we approved again the $3 million for pavement management, so we're going to do about the same amount of roads as we did last year. You're going to see a lot of roads done down in the First, Second, Third Avenue South area, that kind of stuff, as we continue to work the stormwater and the sewer separation. Roads are going to be getting redone down there, so that's the next big area that we're going into. Not saying that's going to happen this year, but just things to look out for on that. So you're going to see roads all over the place that are getting worked on, and just happens that right now we are concentrated on the north end a little bit.
Again, visiting with Scott Maddasion, thank you so much for coming in. Before we do let you go, I know you're heavily involved with Tailgate and Tall Boys, and of course, Josh Ager's always kind enough to come in on the fourth Thursday of the month. But recently, the two of you were at Grow Clinton. Talk about what took place that day.
Yeah, we had a kind of like a business roundtable, or a coffee talk is what they call it, to discuss basically the layout and the plan for the city, so business owners and citizens can understand kind of what's going to happen. And we changed the grounds this year, so the entrance is not on 2nd Avenue South, it's on 6th Avenue North now, so that switched. And then also we had some closures downtown around the post office, South 1st Street and 5th Avenue South, and we're not going to have anything like that down there. Riverview Drive will be closed like normal, so that won't be no car traffic up there. But other than that, we really limited our closures this year. So the downtown, the 5th Avenue South, the Lions, everywhere is just going to be open for business as normal. There might be a lot of concert goers down there, people from other places, which we hope so. But yeah, that's the big thing that we talked about, and we went through that as people ask questions, kind of understand what it's going to look like.
And, a couple of the headliners, Jelly Roll and Bailey Zimmerman, being recognized here by country music people.
Yeah, Jelly Roll won 3 awards the other night, and he was the final performer on the CMT Awards, which is a big thing. They usually reserve that for the big dogs, the last performance. So that was really good, and it's nice to see that these folks are getting recognized, and some of our undercard people are starting to get a lot of recognition for things too. Josh Ross just got named like Breakout Artist of the Year, or potential Breakout Artist for 24, and Nate Smith put out a new album, and he's climbing the charts with several songs. Bailey Zimmerman's almost got another #1 if it hasn't hit #1 again. That'll be like 4 or 5 in a row for him. So, I mean, we're doing really good as far as where our artists are at, and I know some people didn't know some of our names, but I think now that they're paying attention and they're looking, our undercard is extremely strong.
Okay, looking forward to catching up with Josh when he comes in on that 4th Thursday. People want to find out more information about what is happening at City Hall. How can they best do that, Scott?
Obviously, always on the internet is if you go to our city website, our iCompass portal, that has all the agendas for every single meeting that goes through the city, what times they are, where they're at, and all that stuff. You can even search on there if you're looking for anything that happened in the past. You can do searches on there. You can go all the way back to the 70s and 80s if you're looking for something that happened back then. So I think that portal is very important. There's an AI thing on there. You can ask questions. It's not super smart yet, but we're getting there. More people ask it questions, the smarter it gets. So that's a good thing. But then also you can reach out to myself or council members at any time, and we'll make sure and get you answers for whatever you're looking for.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, Scott.
Thank you.